Hello and welcome back to Invitation to Puzzles. I'm doing a little mini series where I do a New York Times easy, medium, and hard just to show you what it looks like when you look at those, what sorts of things show up, what makes the hards harder, or the mediums harder than the easies, etc. What sorts of techniques you need to solve them so that you can do all of them. So now today we are on to the medium. So we're going to have to be a little bit more cautious. Last time we showed that you could do everything in an easy with just hidden singles, which was 98% of it, and naked singles, which was 2% of it. Here we're going to have to be a little bit more cautious. Okay. Now, even so, I think it is still worthwhile, if you're doing one of these, to start by just doing what I suggested last time, which is to double click some digits. I usually boringly go in order and start, okay, what about ones? And just see if any of them are placed. There will usually be some that are placed or some that are limited in where they can go. Okay, and so here's the first thing that is going to be different when approaching a New York Times medium, is that when I see one in this box, it is not placed. However, it is only in two places. And so I'm going to make a note to myself that one in this box is in one of these two places. So this is what I use corner marks for. Notice there's sort of two flavors of marks. There's the corner mark and there is the center mark, which looks like that. Corner marks always mean, to me, that one of these two cells within this box is a 1. Okay. Now, when will I mark that? Well, I'll definitely mark it if those two cells share a row or column. So you'll see why in a second. Sometimes I'll mark it even if it's sort of kitty corner cells, like if those two are the only two that could be 9. Sometimes I'll mark it, sometimes I won't. It depends basically on how desperate I am. But let's go and let's continue just for practice. So the ones in box 1 here are in one of these two cells. And so now, why is that useful to note? Here's why that's useful to note. I don't know if this is a 1 or that's a 1, so in that sense, it wasn't very useful. But I do know that one of these two is a 1, and whichever of these two is a 1, it looks over, when I say looks over, I mean horizontally, it looks over and sees all of these cells that I've just marked in red. None of these cells can be a 1. So when I'm scanning, and I'm looking for what I can say about ones, I should also look at these corner marked ones. And if I do that, I see that actually in this box, I know where the 1 is. Okay, and so this is probably the most important deduction that you should get used to, that you're going to see a lot in medium Sudoku puzzles, which is that I'm going to need sort of to keep in track of this corner mark in order to say this is a 1. Now, I want to point out a separate way that one could have done that, just to point out that there's sort of a separate way to see this. And the other way that you could do that is that you can view this 1 as being hidden in row 2. Right. So if you look back at the easy puzzle we did last time, the question we asked to place basically every single digit in the puzzle was, where is the 6 in box 5, or some variation of that. That is, we're looking for hidden singles in boxes. The other way that you could spot this 1 that goes here, that I just went through, that is considerably more difficult in my mind, but that you might also see, is that you could ask the question, where does 1 go in row 2? And if you ask that question, what you'll see is, well, neither of these is a 1 and neither of these is a 1 because they're literally given digits that are given not to be 1. None of these 3 can be 1 because they're in a box with a 1. Sorry, this keeps jumping on my highlighting. And so one of these two is a 1, but it's not that one. because that one's in a column with a 1. And therefore, this is the one for row 2. Okay. Now, that I think is considerably harder than what we did with the corner marking the 1. It has the benefit that it doesn't require writing anything down. Like this corner marked 1, you wouldn't need to see it in order to do that, but it gives you an awful lot of things to scan. So just keep in mind those two sort of different ways of thinking about this. And let's continue sort of scanning our 1s. So I see now that we have this one. It now, in fact, actually places the 1 in this box. Let's see. And that might be all we can get out of 1s. About 2s now. I see that the 2s immediately, in fact, place a 2 here. One note that you can look at is if you ever look at a box, like box 9 here, and you see that there are 4 given 2s, or 4 2s that you know about that look into that box, that always means the 2 is placed. With no other information, that will always place the 2. So in this case, again, in this case, that 2 goes there. Let's see. Do I have anything else? I have something very interesting, which is that the 2 in box 1 is in one of these 2 cells. So I can corner mark the 2 here as well, and I shall. But now, if you think about it, we can actually say something far better, which is I know these 2 cells contain the 1 and the 2 for the box, but therefore they contain nothing else because there's only 2 of them and I can't put the 1 and the 2 in the same cell. So I'm actually going to upgrade these corner marked 1 2s to center marked 1 2s to say that these 2 cells in fact only contain the digits 1 and 2. Okay. And so just to go over what that means, whenever I have a center mark in a cell, what that means is that the digit in that cell is one of, and then the list of digits. So if I were to center mark this cell, I would say, okay, it can be 2, can't be 1, can't be 3, it looks like it could be 4, can't be 5, can't be 6, could be 7, can't be 8, can't be 9. So this center mark 247 here, I'm not going to leave this here, but if I did center mark this 247, it's saying, I don't know what digit goes in this cell, but it could be 2, it could be 4, or it could be 7. Those are the only options. Whereas a corner mark, if I put, say, 2s here, would be saying one of these 2 is definitely a 2. I just don't know which one. And so what happened here is I had an overlapping pair of corner marks that turned into sort of center marks. And you could leave the corner marks here if you want. Over time, like one of the greatest obstacles is that you actually write so much into the grid that it becomes impossible to keep track of. So my habit is that once I have a center marked pair, then I'll remove the corner marks, but you can do whatever you want with regard to that. Now, what this is called in the lingo, this is a naked pair, meaning that if I look at these 2 cells and I ask what they can be, I now know that they're just 1 and 2. So it's 2 cells with 2 values. That's a naked pair, in the same way that 1 cell with 1 value is a naked single. Okay, so let's continue our looking at 2s. Keep in mind this pair now looks over and rules 2 out of those cells. 2's ruled out of this cell by that 2 and out of that cell by that 2. So one of these 2 is a 2. Again, back to corner marks because I'm asking where 2 is. Let's see, and I don't think I get anything else. So what about 3s? Well, I certainly get that a 3 is in one of those 2 cells. I think that's about it. You'll notice I don't have a lot of 3s in the grid, so it's maybe not surprising. Although if I thought I didn't have a lot of 3s in the grid, I have even fewer 4s in the grid. So this 4 is not going to do it for me. But now 5s, and 5s are going to do more to show me what this 1-2 pair is doing. So what this 1-2 pair is doing, among other things, is it's telling me, well, if these need to contain 1 and 2, they don't contain 5. So when I actually ask where the 5 goes in box 1, if I'd asked that when the grid was blank, I'd have gotten a pretty useless 4 cells. But now, actually, the 5, if I look at it, it can't go up there. So actually now the 5, I can just corner mark into those 2 cells. And so I've now got a 5 looking across here. Now, can ask if we could say anything else about 5s, and I'm not sure we have a lot else we can say about 5s. But if you look ahead a bit and think about what's going to happen in this box when I look at 7 in a minute, I just want to point out, you can actually see, and this is something you should look for when you start seeing a box breaking down like this into pairs. You can see I'm going to place a 7 in this box, and where's it going to go? It's going to go in these cells as well. So the 7's also going to get pushed here. In fact, actually, it's even better than that. The 7 actually is now going to get placed exactly there. And when I write a 7 on top of my corner marked 5, remember, if you always corner mark things in 2 cells, then whenever you place something over a corner mark, it means you can write in the digit in the other one. So in this case, I wrote in a 7 over a corner marked 5. That means I can place this 5. Note, if you corner mark something in 3 cells, of course, this doesn't work. But if you only corner mark stuff in 2 cells, that's how that works. Okay, so let's look at, we've got some 5 now and can be corner marked here. Okay, let's look at 6s. Let's see, I see a 6 corner mark up there. I see a 6 just placed here by these 2 6s. Let's see. Not quite. Yeah, I don't think I have anything else. What about 7s? 7 goes here by Sudoku into the box. So now here's the case that I mentioned in the last video. When I look at this box and ask where 7 can go, it can only go in 2 places, but the 2 places are these 2. So I probably most of the time would not bother to mark that. It can be useful sometimes. And so I wouldn't say never mark it, but it's less useful because the main thing you get out of corner marking is the sort of seeing across the row. It sort of lets you do things like place this 1 as we did in this puzzle. And so anyway, if you want to place it, you can place it. If you don't want to place it, you don't have to place it. Totally up to you. Let's see. Do I have anything else interesting about the 7s? I don't think so. Okay, 8s. I see I've got an 8 in one of these 2 cells. Let's see. I see the 8 looking down here is going into one of these 2 cells. I see the 8 in this box is ended up in one of these 2 cells. Let's see, so we've got 8s. Okay, and so now that 8 together with this 8 being corner marked into row 1 places the 8 here in box 1. Now, anytime that you see that you're down to only 2 digits left in a box, which I know you could say I'm down to 4 digits left in this box, but I'm kind of down to 2 because I know these are a 1 and a 2 in some order. I just don't know which. So it's either a 1 and a 2, or it's a 2 and a 1. I don't know which one, but it's one of those. So now I'm down to just these 2. I should probably ask myself, what are these 2 digits? And so that is to say, I'm going to go through the numbers from 1 to 9, and I'm going to center mark what these cells can be. So they can't be 1, 2, or 3. They could be 4. They can't be 5, 6, 7, 8, and they could be 9. Okay, so these 2 cells are automatically a 4-9 pair. But because I have enabled the conflict checker to on, it shows you that this cell sees a 9. So in fact, this cell is a naked single 4. And indeed, if I'd only written in this cell, I still would have known it was a 4. So last video, in the easy video, I showed you how if you know 8 of the 9 cells in any row, column, or box, the last one is a naked single because it sees 8 digits. It could only be 1. You can have naked singles that are not like that. You can have random cells in the grid, like this one, that happen to see every other digit except for 1 through a combination of their row, column, and box. Okay, and so, anyway, that's one of the many reasons why it's useful to write in pairs. So that's a 4, and therefore that's a 9. And this, therefore, is a known digit for the column. Namely, it seems to be a 3. Okay, we were last looking at 8s. Is there more to be said about 8s? I don't think at the moment there is, so maybe we should look at 9s. And so there was only one 9 in the grid until we got this 9. But now actually the two 9s together actually very conveniently place a 9 here. And so now we're in the same situation where now this row has all but 2 digits filled. And so what are those 2 digits? And so conveniently, I know one of them is a 3 because I have a 3 corner marked into these 2 cells. The other is a 4. And then we've got the 5, the 6, the 7, the 8, and the 9. So these cells are, in fact, a 3-4 pair. Again, once you have 2 cells with 2 values, then you know I've got it. It's either 3 here and 4 here, or 4 here and 3 here. Those are the only 2 options. Now, I don't know that my 9s immediately looked into anything. And so now it's probably worth going back and looking quickly at our digits again that we looked at the beginning. So we're looking at these in order, but notice as soon as you place a digit, it potentially actually means that there's actually something to be discovered where there wasn't before. So you might do a quick sort of rescan. I'm not seeing anything out of the 1s. Not seeing anything out of the 2s. See, I'm seeing that one of these 2 is a 3 now. About 4s. I'm seeing that one of these 2 is a 4 now, actually, so that's actually useful. So the 4s now point down here. So these are now a 4 and a 5 corner marked. And so remember, when I do that, I upgrade them to a 4 and a 5 center marked. And that gives me a lot of control over this box now, because we've already got the 1, the 2, the 3, the 4, the 5, the 6, and the 7. So that means that these 2 are an 8-9 pair in some order. And remember, you can think of this as a corner marked 8 and a corner marked 9. And the reason why I say that is it rules 8 out of this cell. If I put an 8 here, if you like, it would make both of these 9, which would not be good. So in fact, actually, that 8-9 pair in its own way places this 8. Okay. Now, so that was me looking at 3s. Sorry, no, that was me looking at 4s. What about 5s? Do I have any more information about 5s? Yes, I do. I see that in box 3, actually, the 5 is now pushed into these cells. So these are actually a 5-6 pair. You're going to see this in a lot in medium difficulty puzzles, where what happens is you have sort of 2 corner marks that get upgraded to 2 center marks. Okay. And now, if I think through it, I should know what this digit is because I've got a 3-4 pair and a 5-6 pair. So there's the 1, the 2, the 3, the 4, the 5, the 6. It is the 7 that I am missing because I've got the 8 and the 9 here. So that's a 7. Okay. And now if I pay close attention, I'll notice the 7 I just placed sees this 7 corner mark, which remember places the 7 because I said it was in one of 2 places. Now, as you do this, you might become more opportunistic and say, okay, maybe I should immediately look at 7s now that I've done that. Or you might be looking at this row and say, oh, this row is kind of interesting because I'm now down to 2 cells again, whose values I don't know. So I should write those in if I'm sort of following this Zeta logic, whatever way you would like. anyway, the digits missing in this row are 4 and 8, so I can fill those in like that. Okay, let's look at 5s. I don't see anything else there. 6s. How did I miss that 6 was so... So, of course, you're not trying to be completely exhaustive here, and so you might miss things as you're doing this, especially if you're doing it quickly. I don't know why. I just missed that 6 was placed in this box from the very beginning. It was... 6s look all over this box, and so that's a 6. So if you left a comment to that, good job. You saw correctly. These two 6s look at those two cells. Now, owing to the stuff I've placed here, 6 is actually ruled out of those, so the 6 is actually placed in one of these two cells in this box. But notice that 6 looks across this cell, which now can't be a 6, and so that is a 6. So we get that, and now we've got sort of our two 6s left to place in these cells. Let's see, we've got a 7 looking up into this box, which together with all of this other stuff means that the 7 is in one of these two, and so these are a 2-7 pair. So if I ask what this digit is, it's not 1, 2, 3, 4. Could be 5, but it's not 6, 7, 8, or 9. Okay. Again, very important that I have two 2-7s in the box in order to do this. By the way, I don't need this 8 quarter mark anymore. So we get that 5. Okay, and so now it might be a reasonable thing to look at, okay, can I say anything about 5s? I don't know that I can, actually. Can I say anything more about 7s? Well, I know one of these two is a 7. Let's see. Okay, what about 8s? I don't see anything immediately there that pops out to me as new. What about 9s? But I did just spot now that this column only has 2 digits left, so I can write them in. What are they? They are a 3 and a 4. And of course, the best case scenario is that when you write them in, one of them is already read, because that means, in fact, actually you know which is which. So that's exactly what happened here. This 3 here looks across and gives me a 4 and a 3. Let's see. Okay, so now I'm going to be more opportunistic, and I'm going to say I just placed a 4 and a 3. What can I do with that? And so I see this 4 now is looking into this box, placing a 4 here, which means these have become a 4-6 pair. And that's useful because those 4s look crisscross at this box and place a 4 here. Okay, which notice is starting to untangle things, because now that 4 looks up at an 8 and a 4 up there have been placed. Okay, so we've got 4s to look at. Yeah, I know where the 4 goes in this box now, right? Okay, so this is going to be a big cascade. So the 4 in this box now is placed by the 4s looking at it, which notice places the 1 immediately because of the corner marks, and then places the 5 and the 4 over here. So we've still got 2 4s. I don't think we know anything about them. However, this 1 is big because it now actually places the 1 into this box. And then these 2 1s place the 1 into this box, which notice sorts out the 2 and the 1 over there. And now I can write in what this is, because this column has all but 1 digit, and that digit is 9. And this row now has all but 1 digit, and that digit is 3. And the box now has all but 1 digit, and that digit is 2. Let's see, this row now is mostly filled in. 2, okay, so we need a 3 and a 9 in some order. Note, I don't know which order, but just knowing that it's a 3 and a 9 from the row tells me what this is for the box. Namely, this is a 2, because I've got everything but 2, which actually sorts out the 7 and the 2 up there, and notice that 7 sees that, 7 sorts out that. Okay, and these are a 3 and a 9. For the row, I've got only 2 things left. Let's see. Okay, so what else can we do? Okay, so it looks to me like we've got all of a bunch of digits. We've got all the 1s. We've got all the 2s, it looks like. We're missing some 3s, but in fact, actually, that digit's a 3, because the 3 is just placed here. And that's going to be very big, because it's now going to let me write in what this digit is. Namely, it's an 8, which is going to fill in the 9 and the 8 over there. Notice that instantly places an 8 over here. It's a 9 over here, which looks up and gives me a 3 and a 9, gives me a 4 and a 3, gives me a 6 and a 4. 3, 4, that's a 5. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, that's a 9. 2, 3, 4, that's a 5. And then that's a 6, and that's a 5. And there we go. Okay, so you can see that as soon as we get into this medium, we've got to think a lot more about really 2 things that are very big, which are corner marks and how those corner marks sort of look into other boxes in the lingo. We very started this puzzle immediately, just to remind you, by looking at this 1 and saying, where does it go in this box? And seeing, okay, the 1 can't go here and can't go here, so it looks across. And then together with that 1, placed a 1 here. Okay, you'll hear a lot of people call that pointing, or saying the 1 points at box 3, or the 1 in box 1 points at box 3, or something like that. I don't usually call it pointing, but you'll hear people say that. All right, so next time, we're going to have a look at the New York Times Hard. So we're going to talk about triples, and we're going to focus a little bit more on actively looking for hiddens. And so hidden pairs and hidden triples. Okay. And so just to whet your appetite a tiny bit, I want to point out that if this were a medium puzzle, if this were a hard puzzle, one of the things you might have actually looked at first was you actually might have noticed that both 1 and 2 simultaneously look at box 1. And so, in fact, none of these cells could be a 1 or 2. And so you might actually notice, these 2 are a 1-2 pair right away. That's called a hidden pair, and that's the sort of thing that you're going to see pop up a lot in a hard puzzle. But we'll talk about that next time. Bye for now.